And we move on to our first report before delving into the topic, which is precisely about all what we've been speaking about and the news of today. In Egypt launches unprecedented initiative to catalyze climate investment. Let's watch.
Egypt, as president of the 2022 UN Climate Change Conference, COP27, has launched 5 regional roundtables in an unprecedented initiative to catalyze investments in different climate sectors. The Egyptian initiative puts climate projects, investors, companies, international financing entities, development banks and other stakeholders at one table, with the aim of actually implementing projects that help achieve climate action goals. The roundtables are organized in cooperation with UN regional committees and UN high-level climate champions. The first roundtable was held in the Ethiopian capital Addis Ababa as the home of the UN Regional Economic Committee for Africa on the 2nd till the 4th of August, and entitled Towards COP27, African Regional Forum on Climate Initiatives to Finance Climate Action and the SDGs. Bangkok hosted the second roundtable on August 25th for the Asia-Pacific region, while Santiago will host the third roundtable on the 1st and 2nd of September for Latin America and the Caribbean. Beirut will host the Arab World Roundtable on September 15th, while Geneva will host the last roundtable on September 20th for Europe. The outcomes of the 5 meetings will be announced during COP27. Mahmoud Mohiuddin, the UN Climate Change High-Level Champion for Egypt, said the initiative aims to discuss investment opportunities in the sectors of food, water, irrigation, increasing agricultural productivity, new and renewable sources of energy and its infrastructure. Additionally, they tackled the digital transformation of those sectors in a way that helps in implementing climate projects on the ground, achieving climate goals and providing job opportunities in the 5 regions. Mohiuddin said the forum aims to catalyze climate finance and investment flows towards building climate resilience in Africa, as well as advancing Agenda 2063 and the Agenda 2030, finding climate and economic solutions that help achieve the sustainable development goals in Africa. It also seeks to get the most benefit out of Africa carbon credits, tackle key barriers, precluding large-scale debt swaps, enhance collaboration between public and private stakeholders and different countries to improve risk management. Hopes are pinned on COP27 to turn climate-related pledges into action to help facilitate the move to green energy in order to reduce harmful gas emissions and adapt to climate change as per the Paris Agreement.
Right, welcome back, and let me here welcome our distinguished guest, engineer Hassan Shabaan, political analyst, and thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for inviting me, appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And the first piece of news today was that Mr. Sameh Shoukry, our foreign minister, is in Gabon to attend the Climate Week for Africa. And that is part of the steps taken by Egypt to, in order to pave the way for a unified stance for Africa at large at this upcoming COP27. How do you view those steps taken by Egypt in order to put a unified African vision towards the aspect, and how far have we gone in this?
Well, Egypt is doing actually a great effort to prepare for the COP27. And when it comes to the first impression is we have to coordinate with our brothers in Africa, because Africa is the continent that really suffers very much from the climate changes. And the efforts that the Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry is exerting in coordinating with our neighbors in the Central Africa and the south of the desert, Gabon and so forth, is very much appreciated because we saw recently a lot of floods around the world, especially in Africa. Sudan suffered from a flood, and the climate changes definitely will be a very important issue for Africa very soon, unless we actually, all of us, get together and realize and to have a forecast for what might happen for us in Africa. It will be very difficult for Africa on its own to face these climate changes that will affect the economies of Africa. So I think Egypt will have to play a leading role in pulling everybody in Africa and getting a common understanding for what actually are the requirements that the African countries or the African continent requires from the international community to face the expected climate changes.
Well, actually, Africa is not suffering of what will happen because
Suffering right now.
We've been suffering from everything.
Right.
So the corona pandemic, the climate change, definitely the climate change has reflected on Africa enormously. Plus, of course, the insecurity of the food and energy chain with the Russian-Ukraine war. I mean here that Africa is
in a mess right
the
now.
midst of
Right.
everything. Here the president has been keen himself to follow up with the developments of the COP27 preparations and to follow up with all the meetings and the steps that are taken by the government in order to see how that would or how will that lead to Egypt's goals concerning the climate issue. If we speak about Egypt's goals concerning the climate issue, what is Egypt aiming for?
Well, Egypt is a very good example for a country that is exposed to a lot of threats, actually. We have a long shore in the Mediterranean, and we have another long shore on the Red Sea. And both of these shores actually form a kind of a threat if the expected climate changes will reflect on the rise of sea level in both areas, actually. And the most significant effect will be on our delta. The Nile Delta could be affected very much from the climate changes if ever the expectations of the rise of the Mediterranean will take place. I think the government will have to put into consideration, while developing the North Lakes, the Mariut and all of the Manzala and all of these lakes, that these lakes are the front door for any expected threat from the Mediterranean to the Delta. And I think we all should work together.
We're now speaking about the impact of the climate change on this
particular
area
right.
of Egypt. Yes.
Especially, the government in Egypt is exerting a lot of efforts in these lakes to improve the ecological conditions in them, deepening and dredging these lakes and replanting the seabed in these lakes to improve oxygen content in these lakes, to attract fish and have a lot of economical activities on the shores of these lakes. But again, while we're doing this, we have to put in mind that in the future there could be a rise in the sea level, and this could affect the north of the delta. And we should be very careful. So in my opinion, while dredging these lakes, I think we're going to have to form a certain line of defense along the shores of these lakes to protect the rest of the delta from any threats from the Mediterranean. I think a lot of countries in the Mediterranean that have shores on the Mediterranean will be exposed to a lot of threats, and this could be one of the main issues that we should discuss in the coming COP27 as a country that very much could be affected by the climate changes. We are coordinating with all the African countries that could have similar threats, not from the rise of the sea level, but from other conditions, actually. Droughts, desert attacking fertile land, all of this is...
Desertification.
Right.
We have seen that
Right.
already. Okay.
So the Chad Lake is no longer there. We know Chad Lake was a major lake in Africa. It's no longer there. It's just evaporated. So, and I think a lot of these...
the Loire River is also diminishing.
Yes, with the,
in France.
in France, yes. A lot, we're talking concern.
We're talking about a world challenge.
Yes,
we're speaking about a world threat.
Yes.
That not only will reflect on Africa, but rather is reflecting on the whole world. And this has been a warning by Egypt since years.
Yes. We have to consider the climate changes that took place in Saudi. Saudi has been raining for a long time, and we should expect a lot of climate changes in the area. Along the line, the equator line will definitely be exposed to climate changes, and I think the rate of rainfall will change, and we're going to have to be prepared for that. Hopefully, the COP27 will discuss all of these problems that, and I hope by the time late November, we might be able to have a document to present to the rest of the world about the expected climate changes and the effects on the climate changes on Africa.
Actually, that is our main, or the main importance that we are giving to such the outcome and the implementation. Before I go on with our discussion, let me first take this second report, and we'll come back after this report.